Welcome to my intro to autocross. So I'm just going to cram together my first 3 autocross events in order. This is my very first run ever. Well, actually, technically my second run ever. My first run, I had a bit of the nerves, forgot to turn on my camera, which is fine by me because I spun out and DNF'd after slamming into, I think, 2 or 3 cones. So sadly, that's not on video. You can see it's not going a whole hell of a lot better. I really don't know how to handle slaloms. And even now, after 3 events, I would say slaloms are what I am weakest at when it comes to autocross. It's just very unfamiliar compared to anything that you're going to encounter either in sim or, in any type of road racing or track driving. So that's definitely a good area for improvement if I want to continue with autocross. You can hear I'm really timid on the throttle and I keep hitting it and then letting off and hitting it and letting off. This is my first time ever doing any type of performance driving with this car. And honestly, it handles great. It performs way better than I do. So this is another fun one. You'll get to see me DNF. This run went okay. It's fairly conservative because I was trying not to screw anything up. And the guy in my passenger seat is the guy I was with for my very first run. So 2 runs prior to this. And so I wanted to show him, hey, I can complete a run. And so this is fairly conservative most of the way through. Everything is looking great. Slaloms were slow, but this back section here, I really love these sweeping sections. This is very similar to, what you'd encounter on a track, road racing. These big sweeping turns. I was a little bit late, missed that apex by a wide margin, but was feeling pretty fast through here. And then we get to this last section, and I prove once again that this guy absolutely should not be riding with me.
It was a good run, too.
That was painful. So from here, I'm just going to kind of speed through the last 2 runs. They're both pretty similar. Each is a little bit faster than the last. Each one I take out 1 cone. I ended up finishing in 6th out of 19. This is in the novice class, so that's not really saying anything particularly impressive. Especially since they split everything into PAX classes, so they kind of equalize all the different cars to the best of their ability. And from what I've heard, the GR86 ends up with a pretty significant advantage in that kind of PAX equalization formula that they use. I don't know exactly how it works. But anyway, it was an okay first day. I had a good time. Second day, we've switched the course around. We're basically running the exact same thing in the opposite direction. This was 2 distinct and separate autocross events, but they happened to be on a Saturday and a Sunday because one of them was a makeup for an event earlier in the season that had been rained out. So this is first run of that second event. And again, technically this is the second run of that second event. First run, I had the nerves, forgot to turn on the camera, which is good because this is where I'm starting to learn to drive with my left foot. You can see my legs kind of awkwardly squeezed together. I'm really working on braking with my left foot, even though I'm working the clutch with the left foot as well. So on that first run, I actually, instead of shifting into second gear, slammed on the brakes. And didn't just do it once, I did it twice. Like when I went to go correct and actually put it into second gear, I slammed on the brakes again. So here we go. I'm actually on my 3rd run of the day, and this one is a little bit slower. Now, the guy in the passenger seat is the same guy who was with me on my first and my 3rd runs the day prior. The ones where I DNF'd. My only 2 runs where I DNF'd were with this guy who I actually know from outside of autocross. So I think that I subconsciously was just trying to run this through slowly and carefully and prove to him that I could complete the course without hitting any cones, without spinning out my car, without anything too dramatic or traumatic. And so that's what I do here. And so on this run, I'm trying to incorporate the advice I received from the previous instructor, which is to transfer the weight a little bit more intentionally. Because I'm driving with 2 feet, I can switch between gas and brake very quickly. And so I'm actually braking and using the gas in each of these slalom sections. And I think it helped a little bit. Now, there's nothing terribly special about this run. This is my best time of the day so far, but I am going to kind of speed through this. Nothing particularly interesting happens. I'm just kind of putting things together a little bit more neatly than I had been before. And I think this is the first one where I started to feel like the slaloms were coming together. I was being a little bit more aggressive going through them. This is my final run, and so I'm going to run through this at regular speed. This ended up getting me P3 out of 18. Again, this is in the novice class, so, it's nothing to write home about, but I was happy with the overall performance of myself and the car. You see, I'm going pretty aggressively, and I way overcooked it into this corner. Did not pick up any cones, so that was nice, but you can see how that cost me a ton of time, and my time definitely would have been a fair bit better. This was a 57.5, and I probably could have gotten into the high 56s without that particular mistake. So still a little bit timid on turn-ins for the slalom. You can see a lot of double turning, kicking the back out a little bit late, but overall, not shameful. And here we go, my third and final so far autocross event. This day I only actually got 4 runs in total because they were trying to rush through. There was rain in the forecast, and rain there ended up being. There was so much rain and thunder and lightning that they ended up canceling the event. And you'll see why that's important pretty shortly here. So, kind of a normal start to an autocross event. This is my entry into D Street. I decided I didn't want to play in the novice class, even though I was flirting with getting a win there. I said I'd rather get beaten up in D Street, and this is a very, very competitive class, it seems like. You can see there's still a little bit of water on the track, but it didn't really affect anything. If you see me sliding around, that's a skill issue and not a track conditions issue. So I'm just taking it pretty nice and easy. This is the first run, getting the feel for it. I did do 2 track walks on this particular day, so I was feeling good. Now I got my buddy in the passenger seat, and we're embarking on my second run. And this one was a little bit faster. And, I didn't want to embarrass myself. This guy drives a first-gen BRZ. So he's very familiar with the platform. I didn't want to bring shame upon my family. So I just took it pretty easy, tried to be smooth, and, go reasonably quickly. It was quicker than my previous one. I think a lot of the skill in autocross just comes down to how quickly you can improve on your times. So this event, I think I improved every run, but maybe not quite enough, as you'll see with, the overall results at the end. Let's take a moment and watch this. I've got to say, I honestly was not expecting him to save that. So last bit, I think there's not really a whole lot more to comment on. It's just, it's going to be a bit of a slog to improve in autocross. But the last thing, almost all the experienced autocross guys I talk to, we get to talking a little bit. And of course, I tell anyone who will listen that I've done some track driving. Almost all of them across the board said something along the lines of, you can take a good autocrosser and turn him into a track driver, but you can't always take a good track driver and turn him into an autocrosser. And it's funny because I relayed that to some of my friends who drive on the track quite a bit, and they all thought that was very amusing and had basically the exact opposite sentiment. And they said, no, you can take a track driver and turn him into an autocrosser, but these guys with their quick little hands and their shuffle steering, can't really make it on the track. So I'm curious if anybody has a different opinion, if you've heard something similar. I thought it was kind of funny, and of course, all in good fun. And if you stuck around this long, you will see that yes, in fact, I may have fibbed earlier when I said all my runs were faster than the previous ones, as you're about to see. Yep, pushed it a little bit too hard in the slaloms there, and DNF'd myself. So still pushing hard, trying to get through the course just so I don't hold anybody up. But as my last run of the day, I knew that my time was certainly not going to get any better from here. This was, I had already put down whatever times I was going to get. So this is a little bit of a walk of shame on the way back to the finish line, but still a learning opportunity. I will say my least favorite part about this event was that this was the first heat, so it was before the rain started. So I was out working in the rain, and because everything kept getting delayed due to lightning, my work shift ended up lasting almost 4 hours. And they still ended up canceling the event anyway, so that was actually a silver lining for me since I took basically last place. But yeah, so that's the video. I wish you all happy and healthy racing. Keep the rubber on the road, and I'll see you next time.